What's up, guys? If you're watching this video, that means you probably read the title, and yes, I do believe that Phillip Rivers just might have changed sports forever, and I will explain why in this video. First things first, when I say that Phillip Rivers might have changed the sport, I mean not the Phillip Rivers from 15 to 20 years ago. I'm talking about the Phillip Rivers that came out of retirement this last year to try and get the Indianapolis Colts into the playoffs as their last hope at quarterback. Now, this was a high school football coach in Alabama when his former head coach, Shane Steichen, called him to see if he wanted to come back for an NFL return. Now, imagine for a second that your NFL team is one of the best teams in the league and you're going to the trade deadline feeling like you're a legitimate contender for the Super Bowl. You go ahead and trade 2 first-round picks and a Donnie Mitchell for a 2-time All-Pro corner, Sauce Gardner. I bet if you're a Colts fan right now, you're on top of the world. I mean, the defense, they just got a huge upgrade. Your running back is in the MVP conversation. Danny Dimes is proving people wrong. And you have a GM and ownership that is going for it. It might just be your year. Until week 13, late November, it all begins. You lose to the Texans, Sauce Gardner injures his calf, and he is expected to miss a couple games in the process. That's the NFL, though. If you don't have solid backups or a plan in place, you can go from first to worst in a week. So now it's early December, and there has been reports that Daniel Jones has been playing through a broken fibula. And to make things much worse, on December 7th, he suffered a torn right Achilles tendon during the first quarter of the Colts' Week 14 game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now remember, a couple minutes ago, I said in the NFL you need to have a solid backup or a plan in place. This situation right here is exactly what happens when neither of those things are true. So if you go back to week 6 of this same year, their backup, Anthony Richardson, suffers an off-the-field injury where allegedly it was a workout band that snapped and it struck him kind of by his eye and it fractured an orbital bone. So he was placed on IR. So now third-string quarterback Riley Leonard is hoisted into action, and pretty quickly he ends up with his own knee problems that sideline him for the rest of the year. Now, it's a super unfortunate position for the Colts organization where all of their quarterbacks got injured. They have a very talented team. They're losing some games right here. They just traded away their next two first-round picks, so they got to make a move. They got to do something here. And what do? They give a call to 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, who's been retired for the last 5 years. It's kind of like Lightning McQueen watching Doc Hudson drift around that racetrack one last time. The extremely unfortunate thing is that teams aren't necessarily supposed to have a plan for this scenario where 3 of your starting quarterbacks go down after the trade deadline, especially, so you can't call up teams that are out of the playoff race and offer them something for their starting quarterback that they might already looking to be moving on from. No, you have to just put something together, and the best thing that they could have put together is calling up, the 5-year retired vet Phillip Rivers, and I honestly thought that Rivers did a pretty dang good job. Now, why would Rivers want to come back and do this? Well, I think there was a couple of reasons. One of those reasons was he was already familiar with the Colts organization and the head coach, Shane Steichen. He also believed that the Colts were capable of doing something special and that he might just be the player to unlock their potential that year. Lastly, and my favorite reason why, is in a post-game press conference, Rivers admitted, quote unquote, to not run, don't be scared of what may or may not happen. He goes on to talk about his sons and players that he coaches and alludes at the fact that he might see his comeback and think to themselves, hey, coach wasn't scared. He talks about the fact that the safe option is sitting on the couch, and even though there's fear and there are doubts, you should always go for it, and he is a prime example of that. So to me, that made his comeback made so much bigger than anything, and I think that we can take something away from that press conference, whether it be going back and picking up a skill that you might have quit or going out and trying something new. Whatever it may be, just go and do something, I mean, that's kind of the point of this YouTube channel. Just take action, do something. You already know the result of something if you just go ahead and sit on the couch. The last thing I want to say before we watch some film is that this Phillip Rivers comeback, it kind of sparks something that we're losing in today's day and age in the NFL. Phillip Rivers' generation of quarterbacks is basically gone. Really, the only one left is Aaron Rodgers, and this is his last year. You think of the early 2010s quarterbacks, it's Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, Phillip Rivers, Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, the list goes on. And all of those guys are basically retired. So it was really nice to see that era one last time. Quarterbacks these days just don't manipulate the defense with their minds as well anymore. It's all first read, second read, scramble. I mean, we'll watch some plays where Rivers looks like a guy conducting a four-person traffic stop out there, and it's really cool to see. Creating mismatches and getting defenders in places you want them so your receivers can replace them. Anyways, with that little rant out of the way, let's get into some film. All right, guys, this play is a really good example of the kind of things that I think we are missing out in today's day and age in the NFL. If you don't want to take my word for it, take Tom Brady's word for it, where he talks to Stephen A. Smith this last weekend at the Fanatics event about how the quarterback play and just the NFL play isn't the same as it used to be 10 to 15 years ago. And this play right here is a tremendous example of the small details he was talking about. So, for starters, if you see at the top of your screen right here, you see Michael Pittman. He goes in motion and he creates this trip formation for the offense, right? Now, what that does to this corner right here is it bumps him back a little bit, right? He was pressed against Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman goes in motion, so he gets a little bit more depth, right? That's totally fine. But if you look at the rest of the corners, right? Look at the bottom of your screen right here. Look at this corner right here, this wide receiver, and obviously the wide receiver and the cornerback that just happened. Everything about what I just circled, it screams man coverage from the cornerbacks. Okay. So, step one from the quarterback perspective, it's complete. You know, the corners, they're running man coverage. And to confirm it, you sent your wide receiver in motion and the corner followed him. So, the corners are running man coverage. Now, you go on to the safeties. Okay. The safeties, I'm not going to lie, they're kind of in a weird position right now because what I really like to do, I like to draw a line down the middle of the field. So you can see that both of these safeties are flirting with this line. Now, neither of them are necessarily coming out and saying, hey, I'm the only safety. This is cover one man and I'm the robber. No, they're both kind of dividing the field equally. So right away, right here, this is kind of making me think cover two, possibly cover three, but there is no such thing as cover three man. So the options, you're limiting down your options, right? As a quarterback, you're limiting down the options. Okay, now right here, you can see that Phillip Rivers, he is pointing right at this linebacker right here, kind of just IDing the mic, telling the running back and telling the O-line, hey, this linebacker, he might be blitzing, be ready for it. Okay, so right now you basically have Phillip Rivers figuring out exactly what kind of defense San Francisco is running, and he is telling his wide receivers and O-line kind of what they're doing. Right, so Rivers IDs the mic, he changes the play, and all he's trying to do is create mismatches, and that is exactly what he does. So snap of the ball, and guess what? These two safeties are completely, working their own zone. So it is cover two, and these cornerbacks are following their man. So it is a cover two man. Now, Phillip Rivers, he knew this a couple seconds ago, so he decided to call a play that has crossing routes, which are very, very good against man coverage. So now all Phillip Rivers has to do is he just throws a nice little carnival egg toss to Jonathan Taylor, and Taylor is able to pick up the first down on 3rd and 9 and get about 9 to 10 more yards too. Guys, this play right here is a tremendous example of Phillip Rivers recognizing the defense, changing the play at the line of scrimmage, getting his wide receivers, running backs, whatever it may be, in an extremely favorable matchup to benefit the offense. And as you can see right here, his wide receiver is wide open, catches the ball with literally nobody around him, gets the first down, move the chains for the offense. Okay, guys, so when it comes to dumbing down an offense for a rookie quarterback, or in this case, Phillip Rivers, someone who's retired for the last couple of years, you send a lot of motions. And what these motions do is they tell you if a corner or a safety is mirroring them, following them, which tells the quarterback, hey, it's man coverage. So right here, this wide receiver, nobody followed him from the right side of the scrimmage to the left side of scrimmage. So that tells Phillip Rivers, hey, this is zone. So let me call a play that doesn't benefit the defense. So this is what he's doing right now. Right now, he's IDing the mics, telling his wide receivers, his running back, who to block and what play they're running. Let's kind of watch that back in full speed. Nobody follows downs. Phillip Rivers changes the play, tells his O-line, hey, we got a new ID, we got a new mic, we got a new play. These are what you're doing. These are the routes. Goes back, and guess what? Snap of the ball, fakes the play action, and these safeties are probably doing exactly what Phillip Rivers thought they were going to do, which is break out into a quarters defense. And you know what is super good against a quarters defense? When you have a fade that takes away the outside corner, and when you have an out route that replaces that fade, look at how much space he has. Look at how much space that he has when he catches the ball. I mean, he has more than 10 yards of space from when he's catching this ball. That is an easy first down that moves the change. So yes, it is a little thing, but guess what? When you need a first down at one of the biggest parts in the game, a lot of us wish that our quarterbacks had the ability to just recognize the defense, call a very simple play, and throw a very simple out route. I wish so many more teams and quarterbacks did things just like this. Okay, guys, this last play right here, I think perfectly shows Phillip Rivers recognizing the defense, having a photographic memory of what his wide receivers are running, and executing all of that for a touchdown. So let's see what's happening. Okay, so I'm going to make a pretty bold assumption and assume that the 15-year NFL vet Phillip Rivers has an idea that this is cover three, because you can see three high safeties basically splitting the field three different ways, telling Phillip Rivers, hey, this is a cover three zone. And from there, Phillip Rivers, he's able to just, he's able to do his thing. He knows that he has a deep in or crosser ish from this tight end right here, which is going to occupy this safety pretty damn well. So immediately he knows that his zone that he wants to work with is right in here. Okay, and when you know the answers to the test, it's kind of easy to cheat on the test. So Rivers knows that if he can just look away this safety or occupy that safety, that his backside post is going to be open. And that is exactly what happens, right? Phillip Rivers looks at that safety, sees that he drives on that inside corner. So this play goes exactly just as perfect as Rivers would want it to go. That middle safety does bite on that shallow crosser, and the backside corner falls for that corner, and he is in for a touchdown. Okay, guys, so that basically does it for this video. And my last thoughts are, yes, I do believe that this comeback might spark a whole bunch of fundamental areas that can be improved, not just from the quarterbacks who need it, but from also most parts of the offense and the defense. Again, you guys do not have to take my word for it, but I would definitely take Tom Brady's word for it when he said those exact same things this last weekend at the Fanatics event. He goes on to talk about how the game is regressing, how quarterbacks are not being able to do what they once were capable of at the speed that they were doing it. In this video, the fundamentals I showed, I think, is a really good example of that. So I do think that the NFL, hopefully it can go back to that kind of way, not necessarily because it's more fun to watch, but because I think it makes football better. And if you go on to look at some more YouTube videos, there are a ton of videos that explain why having a running quarterback is a bad thing. And I'm not going to really reiterate what they said, but when you have a quarterback that is processed to use his legs when things go bad and not necessarily, like work through his reads or try to disguise the offense something else for the defense, and they have to rely on their legs, that doesn't necessarily pay off through the playoffs and through the Super Bowl, and history goes on to show that. So the last reason that I say he might have changed sports forever is because I think this goes to show how players and teams can prepare and execute their game plans differently. I mean, guys, this was a 44-year-old quarterback with hardly any footwork when he was playing, and half of an arm, for the Colts for his comeback this last season, right? So maybe this shows to some teams that they don't need to pay a dual threat quarterback $40+ million, right? Maybe this goes on to show them, hey, we just need to develop the right ones, teach him the right things. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but maybe this shows a lot of teams, we just want a smart pocket passer that isn't going to cost us as much money as someone who can throw the ball and who can't throw the ball as effectively, but who can run the ball. So maybe teams see this and think, oh, hey, let's just stick with the pocket passer. All right, guys, so with all that being said, this is the end of the video. If you guys stuck around this long, thank you very much for watching. Remember, if you're feeling froggy, jump. And I encourage all you guys to take action today. Do something productive, even if it's just like 5 to 10 push-ups. Go make your day worth it.